This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, April the 20th, is not Hitler. He is a football coach and he even played in the NFL, which is weird. But anyway, he was a multi-sport all-state athlete. He even won the Heisman Trophy as a quarterback. Really? Yep. And then he was picked in the first round of the 1967 draft, played a decade in the NFL as a backup quarterback and punter. Like, gee, the Heisman jinx. But after retiring, this guy was a coach and was a college assistant, and then he became a decent head coach for a long time. So anyway, this guy actually is the winningest coach in Florida and South Carolina program history. And Duke won the 1989 ACC title, which was the only time that Duke has done that. So in the last 50 years, well, Duke is not really a football school; they're a basketball school. SPurrier is fantastic. Well, I guess I named him Steve SPurrier. So Steve SPurrier today is 77 years old. So he was in Florida and all that. Anyway, SPurrier was good in baseball, basketball, and football. But SPurrier's quarterback achievements drew a lot of honors. Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, Kentucky, Duke, South Carolina, Air Force, and Army wanted him to play. Tennessee could have had him, but they basically didn't care about him being a football player. Tennessee gave him a basketball scholarship, but he wanted to play football. But University of Florida coach Ray Graves heard about SPurrier and basically wanted to steal him and all that. He said SPurrier would not be the starter right away, but he could have a fair opportunity earning the job. SPurrier said he liked the passing, the SEC, the weather, and the coach. Why? That is why he decided to go to U of F. In the 1960s, college freshmen were not allowed to play in varsity sports. So basically, if you were like a basketball star, you couldn't play the first year. You had to sit out. SPurrier played on the freshman team and all that. However, SPurrier almost became the number one quarterback in 1964 for Florida, but he got injured. And that meant Tommy Shannon got the job and all that. But Shannon and SPurrier were alternated by Ray Graves and all that. He was an icon and all that for Florida. He was named Sophomore of the Year in 1964 with the SEC. He didn't play all those games, but he helped the Gators shock number 7 LSU in Baton Rouge. So SPurrier became the starting quarterback for his final 2 years. And he did pretty well. 4,800 plus passing yards, 37 touchdowns. Remember, he didn't play as a freshman because of the rules of the NCAA at the time. Anyway, SPurrier would help the Gators 8 times in his college career, leading to the fourth quarter comeback wins and all that. He actually kicked a 40-yard dramatic field goal against Auburn when he decided to kick the ball himself and not have the regular place kicker come in. It was amazing and all that. He was part of the Sugar Bowl team that lost. However, he was named MVP of the Sugar Bowl, which was weird for a team from a losing player. SPurrier had the passing record for the Sugar Bowl in 1966 until Shane Matthews of Florida did it in 1992. Florida could have won the conference title, but Georgia upset them and all that. That 1966 squad was great. Eddie won the Heisman. Amazing. Well, then came the NFL draft in 1967, in which the AFL teams were allowed to pick. The first AFL team to pick would be Miami. So people thought that Steve Spurrier could have, as a Heisman-winning quarterback, would head to the AFL, but he didn't. So anyway, the Baltimore Colts picked up the #1 pick from the baby Saints, the New Orleans Saints, and picked Bubba Smith from Michigan State, one of the best defensive tackles around, and he made a few appearances on Married with Children. Minnesota picked second after a trade from the Giants and took Clint Jones from Michigan State, a running back who was a bust. So San Francisco, after picking up the pick from Atlanta, decided to say, fuck it, we're taking Spurrier. And they took him, third overall. The next pick went to the AFL, which was Miami, and they took Bob Greasy from Purdue. So it all worked out. Spurrier could have went to the AFL. Spurrier was told he was going to be prepped to replace John Brody in 4 or 5 years. Spurrier did not do that well. And he could not throw for the life of him in the NFL. Well, it's a lot harder than college football. He would become the backup quarterback and starting punter. Well, you're thinking, a quarterback is a punter? That's not right. Well, most quarterbacks were two-way players, offense and defense. But here's the thing, though, too. A quarterback punter is not uncommon. I mean, George Blanda did that. That guy from Washington. Not David O'Brien. Sammy Ball did that for many years. I mean, Joe Theismann was the punter for a few years for Washington before he became the star quarterback. And let's not forget Danny White. He was the Cowboys punter, even though he was the quarterback. So anyway, Spurrier came on the field in 1972 when Brody got injured. San Fran was 2-3 and basically out of things, or so they thought. But Spurrier put them to a 6-1-1 mark, making them 8-4-1. So he was in the playoffs and in that. Unfortunately, he was terrible in the first half of the regular season finale. And so John Brody came in, and Brody was the hero as the Niners clinched the playoff berth. Poor Spurrier. Brody was given the start against the Cowboys. Even though that the Niners crushed the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day, 31-10 with Spurrier at the helm. The Cowboys managed to win 30-28. It was close. Spurrier, unfortunately, would have a lingering knee injury in the 73 season. He looked pretty good and all that. But anyway, Spurrier had knee problems and all that. His NFL contract expired. He listened to World Football League stuff. Brody retired, and Spurrier decided to resign with San Francisco, knowing he was the heir apparent. Unfortunately, in preseason, he had a badly dislocated shoulder, and he missed the season. And then in 1975, he was the backup again, this time to Norm Snead. The Niners were not doing so well. They were 2-5. Spurrier asked Coach Nolan to start against the Rams, and they agreed, and the Spurrier helped them win. The Niners were 5-5, but Spurrier unfortunately could not do well and was placed on the bench, and Coach Nolan was fired. The Niners would make multiple high draft picks to the Patriots to get Jim Plunkett, who won the Heisman himself, but was not doing well for the Patriots, or so they thought. As a starter, Spurrier was 13-12-1 with the Niners. Spurrier then was traded to the expansion Tampa Bay Bucks for 2 players in the second-round draft pick. So this was big. Spurrier was a college coach for the college star of the University of Florida. It looked very good for him. He was actually the first starting quarterback. Unfortunately, the Bucks were terrible. They were undermanned and underappreciated. They were 0-14. Remember, 14 games was the regular season at the time, not 16. Spurrier was frustrated at a lot of things, and McKay insisted on a run-heavy attack, similar to what he did for USC. Fair enough. And unfortunately, John McKay said that his son should be the Bucks' primary wide receiver. Nepotism much? The Bucks would cut Spurrier. He was signed with Denver and Miami, but unfortunately, he got cut. And he would retire. So he played 106 games in 10 seasons. throwing for 6,878 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 60 interceptions. Not really that great. So, he actually was an assistant coach with Florida. He would be the quarterbacks and receivers coach, but it didn't work out. Even though Chris Collinsworth was named to the All-SEC team, the Gators' scoring output was terrible and all that. Spurrier thought he could be Florida's next head coach, but his lack of experience ruined him, and Charlie Pell was there. Then he went to Georgia Tech and became an offensive assistant. Unfortunately, Georgia Tech did not do that well. But Spurrier got to be the offensive coordinator for Duke in 1980 for a few seasons. And thanks to his pass-heavy stuff, the Duke quarterback Ben Bennett would have the career passing yards record in the NCAA. And Duke actually averaged more than 300 passing yards per game, becoming the first ACC team to do so. Duke got back-to-back winning seasons and actually upset Tennessee. It was amazing and all that. Then he decided to join Tampa in the USFL at 37 years old. He did okay for Tampa. They were 35-21 in his 3 seasons, but the USFL dissolved. Then he ended up heading to Duke. He was supposed to be the Mississippi State or even the LSU head coach, but failed. So he went to Duke, become the head coach and offensive coordinator, helping Duke win the ACC championship for the first time in a long time, in their first bowl game since 1960. Duke did fantastic and all that. And then Florida said, you know what? We need a head coach. And Spurrier's a Gators alum. So he went to Florida. So, unfortunately, though, there were some problems with that. Spurrier wanted to have the announcement after Duke played in the 1989 All-American Bowl and got taken out. But on New Year's Eve 1989, he was named the football head coach. Spurrier said he would change things. He wanted Florida to bring back the blue jerseys. They would wear orange for the 80s, but no. He wanted natural grass back to Florida Stadium, not artificial turf. And they wanted Miami back on the schedule to face Florida. And he said, we need to be Auburn, Georgia, and Florida State because we are not doing so well. Unfortunately, Florida had issues because they were under NCAA investigation for the second time in 5 years. Thankfully, though, Florida did not get the death penalty that SMU got. They were the best team in the SEC, but because of the probation NCAA did, they couldn't go to a bowl game. In 91, they did win the SEC title. And then, of course, he helped the Gators win the 1996 National Championship when they crushed Florida State in the Sugar Bowl 52-20. It was huge and all that. He was good. He had the pass-oriented offense, fun and gun, in contrast to the ball-controlled, rush-oriented offenses that the SEC usually plays. So, from 1990 to 2001, when he was the Florida head coach, he won the 96 championship. He was in the 95 national title game against Nebraska, but Tommy Frazier just ran all over him, and Lawrence Phillips too. 6 SEC championships, 5 SEC Coach of the Year, first Heisman Trophy winner to coach a Heisman winner, which was Danny Werfel. He did fantastic, almost averaging more than 10 wins a season, which was fantastic and all of that. He got to 11 straight bowl games with Florida, which is good. 122, 27, and 1 with the Gators. And the only college football team that scored 500 points, including bowl games, for 4 straight years. Wow. Woo, baby. He was good for Florida and all that. It was weird how he would abruptly resign as head coach out of nowhere. And then he went to Washington. Dan Snyder wanted Spurrier to be a head coach in the NFL, so he gave him a 5-year, $25 million contract. And the Skins were decent. Unfortunately, though, they ended up 7-9. Not really that good. Opponents would use disguised blitzes to basically ruin Spurrier's offense. The Skins ended up being 5-11 in the second season, and the defense faded a lot. And Spurrier decided to resign instead of being fired. It was just terrible and all that. Of course, Spurrier had a rift with Daniel Snyder. And his tenure as NFL head coach was scrutinized because he brought in several Florida players like Danny Worthwell and Shane Matthews because he was playing favorites in a sense. And he was also criticized for bringing most of his coaching staff from the Gators to the Skins and all that. But then he decided to go back to the SEC. Florida almost took him back. But he said he didn't think it was good. South Carolina needed a head coach because Lou Holtz was going to retire. So he did it. He got a 7-year deal with the Gamecocks and all that. He did very well for themselves. Spurrier helped South Carolina beat Florida 30-22. Revenge. South Carolina went to the Independence Bowl in the 2005 season. So anyway, he did quite well. Spurrier signed a contract extension, even though that there were rumors he was going to head for Miami or Bama. Well, the University of Miami or Bama. Spurrier helped the Gamecocks win the Liberty Bowl and all that. 8-5, which was pretty good. The Gamecocks did decently, but, you know, Spurrier was just an icon. All that. South Carolina got to the Capital One Bowl in 2012, or Citrus Bowl now it's called, taking down Nebraska, winning their 11th game, which was amazing. South Carolina was back in business because a lot of schools thought that South Carolina were pushovers. Not anymore. Spurrier helped the Gamecocks win the Outback Bowl against Michigan. And I can't remember. Was that the one where South Carolina, I would say Javanian Clowney, I think he was from South Carolina, with that famous hit, boom, and all that. The Gamecocks won 11 games again in 2013 and took out Wisconsin in the Cap One Bowl the Cap One / Citrus. So fantastic. Unfortunately, though, the 2014 Gamecocks were terrible and all that. Spurrier decided to resign from the head coach and all that. So he would frequently help Florida out and all that. Spurrier has 4 children. His oldest son, Steve Jr., was an assistant football for many years and would join Oklahoma. So anyway, the USFL, he was pretty good, but in the end, that dream died. Duke, he was 20-13-1. Florida, 122-27-1. And South Carolina, 86-49 for 228 wins as a head coach. Not bad. In the NFL, he was 12-20. Kind of pathetic, don't you think? But you know, things just happened. Oh yeah, and he coached Orlando in the American Alliance League, this upstart league that had to fold because of financial troubles. Or he could have won a title with that. So anyway, his coaching tree is decent. Kerwin Bell, Judd Fish, Shane Beamer for South Carolina, Marvin Lewis, Carl Franks, Bob Stoops even was an assistant coach under Spurrier when he went to Oklahoma. Charlie Strong and Ron Suk. So yeah, he was a Gator. He was a Gator legend. Not much in the NFL, but he was a college football star through and through. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.